The good news is that this game doesn't have anything to do with the Japanese occupation of China in the 1930s and 40s. So it could have been a lot worse. And if you're just looking around, the connection might not even be obvious, because the Japanese title comes from an English warping of Chinese that then goes back to English. So sometimes people drop that without realizing it when writing the title of this game in English. And I wish that that was the only piece of questionable content here. Nanking no Adventure is the 5th game based on Puzzler magazine. A magazine that, as you might expect, was filled with logic puzzles and games like that. Sunsoft had a partnership with them and released a Disk System magazine under the title Nozzler Land that lasted 3 issues. And then there was a quiz game also associated with them. The official in-house artist for Puzzler magazine went under the pseudonym Nanking, which is where the title comes from. He claims that it's an elementary school nickname, and I will give him the benefit of the doubt there, though it's not a nickname I would ever want to hang on to given the connection. The cover of this game is a self-portrait by Nanking, and it is very clearly derived from racist caricatures. That's why you won't be seeing the cover accompanying this game. I am going to put it up on the screen for a few seconds to provide full context, though. There it is. There's a conversation to be had about reclaiming this kind of depiction and applying it to oneself, but I'm not the person to do that. I'm a boring American white guy who's just here to catalog video games. So I'm just going to leave that discussion to the professionals and those who have stake in the game. I'll stick to just the Famicom Disk System adventure game. Nanking no Adventure is a comedic adventure game, and it's one of those where everything is wacky. You're playing as Francis Xavier, a European missionary who, after co-founding the Jesuits, became the first Christian to visit Japan. After learning Japanese from William Adams, a shipwrecked sailor who would later become a samurai, Xavier winds up at a hot spring, and from there he sets out on a journey of enlightenment. And you probably weren't expecting this much history to be tied up in this. The adventure interface is similar to other adventure games at the time. Pick a verb from a menu, and then sometimes pick out a noun to perform that action on. You might have to hit the B button to cycle to a second page of commands, though. There's nothing too unusual in the commands. Look, talk, inquire, though for some reason you pick up the command perform. Xavier learns certain performance tricks in his progress, like fire breathing, and those often wind up being the key to progression. This is one of those adventure games where most of your progress is locked behind nonsensical actions. Yell 4 times in a row and then someone appears, even though the first 3 times didn't do anything. And of course you'll always have to talk to people until they start repeating themselves. And sometimes keep talking to them even after that. The characters you meet will all be ones from Puzzler magazine, so this is one of those games where it was really designed for people who are already fans. One of the nice things here is that there are a ton of locations. I think it's more locations than I've seen in any 8-bit adventure game to this point. Of course, there's no animation, and you don't see the effects of your actions on the world. But still, having nearly 40 unique locations fully drawn like that, it's quite an accomplishment. This is a game that is very of its time. The humor includes lots of pop culture references, and of course, tons of puns. So it can be a bit impenetrable, and it hasn't aged well. Maybe that's why Nanking no Adventure is so obscure in Japan. Even adventure game fans don't seem to be aware of this one. Setting aside all of the external baggage, is Nanking no Adventure even worth going back and playing? I don't think so. I will say, I think it's better than average for these adventure games. Just the sheer amount of content, and the small amount of puzzle solving involved, moves it up to that level. But this is also a game that's very of its moment, and that moment has passed.